Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Game Time here on the Game Time Sports Channel. I am the Outlaw, John Rocha, joined as always by the man with the plan over there, Winston A. Marshall. Your Cowboys coming off an incredible victory, looking like Super Bowl contenders again, Winston. How are you feeling on this Tuesday afternoon?
It's fine. It's good win, but they're the Giants. The fact that we have outscored them 89-17 in 2 games this year is insane.
Yeah,
that is insane.
It feels like 9 million to 7. That's what it feels like when you watch.
It really does. It's just abuse. There's a point at which you're just like, this abuse feels illegal. You know what I mean?
It feels like those videos when you're watching the parents run over their little peewee kids, and you're like, wait, why are they letting them happen?
The tackle
yes!
practice where mom gets to run at her son. Just what? Little boy, I pushed you out of me. We'll push you to the ground.
I don't understand any of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's always hilarious to me. But but yeah, no, we 1,000% have their number. We're not going to see them in the playoffs, so we don't have to worry about playing them again. So that was a fun little train wreck them. And we actually have a pretty easy, relatively speaking, schedule to close out the season.
How fucking dare you? How dare you call easy playing us? How dare you? I mean,
first of all, I said relatively. So however you want to interpret that, that is your fault. You decided that you were not the relative part of that you were part of the easy run over your ass schedule. That is a personal thing you clearly have with yourself. Your confidence is nigh. There is nigh confidence in your body, John Rocha.
It's true. I have no confidence, of course.
But realistically, I mean, we got some bangers in here, but the Panthers are not much of, as far as their winning record and whatnot, not much of a threat. So that looks good. You guys on Thanksgiving, I would say this, man.
Yeah,
I think we'll win both. However,
I
have a stronger feeling that we win the Thanksgiving game, both A, because it's at home, and B, we're used to playing this Thanksgiving game. So I'll just give us that. Seattle is kind of a toss-up. You don't know what Geno you're going to get.
Tough. Yeah.
Not sure what Geno. Eagles, I think it's my birthday, so we're winning that game. That's not even a question. The Bills, after what I saw last night, I ain't worried about no Bills no more. We're going to talk about it. And the Dolphins, again, they still feel like fool's gold. Every time they've played a good team, they've fallen apart. So, the Lions are the only other team on here that I'm genuinely worried about, because the Eagles, like I said, they're losing that game. It's my birthday. They don't have a choice.
All right, but they ask you, because I know we're going to get into the rest of the show. And thanks to everybody who's joining us at a new start time for today at 2 p.m. PT, because I had a screening for Napoleon this morning, so I couldn't make the 11 a.m. work. So thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out with us. But I got to ask you this. Cowboys linebacker Leighton Vander Esch season is over with a neck injury. That's yet another injury on your defensive front here. What's your thoughts on this? Losing Vander Esch as part of your defense here, is this going to damage you a little bit?
So I would, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I was at a Friendsgiving on Sunday, so I didn't get to watch. Did he play this game, or they're saying that this is off of when he was out weeks ago?
Yeah. It was out from when he was out weeks ago. Yes, he was
against the Niners.
Injured reserve this week.
Got it.
After he heard it, but he has lingering symptoms. And then they decided he was injured on a play in that game, right? And then they pretty much decided that's it for him. So he's done for the season, man.
Well, I'm seeing the headline. They're even saying that his career's in question, that is really sad to me. And I think the only thing weirder about it is, how did Sean Lee literally get reincarnated into the next white linebacker to take his position? That's the exact same position that Sean Lee played. It's the exact same set of issues where he'd give you 4 or 5 games of God damn. And then it'd be oh, he done broke his flabella. And he's just out for the next 8 games.
It's like Vander Esch, Lee, Bates, and then before Bates, in my day, Randy White. So the Cowboys love their white linebackers. That's for damn sure.
That gets train wrecked, though. That's the thing.
True.
He's good, but he's just it's sad to see it, man, because you don't. Anyway, long story short, I mean, I don't think that that's a bad loss, but as long as we still have Micah, I'm feeling okay. I think the thing that sucks is we're past the trade deadline to get this information.
That's true. That's true.
So you got to hope that either the next man up will handle it, or that there's somebody out there in free agency we can try and snatch up. But
Flacco's out there. Go get Flacco, put him on the line, see what
Flacco at middle linebacker with.
We're going to get at all things going on from week 10, though, in the NFL. A lot of stuff happened. This was a weekend of upsets. So that's really the headline. Big headline that a lot of teams took hits. The Bengals went backwards. The Bills, as Winston mentioned, went backwards last night. The Ravens took a tough loss as well. So this is going to be real interesting. But one team that bounced back, and we're going to start with this team here. Before I do, remind you all, please, the Streamlabs are available. Send in your support. We want to read your questions, thoughts, and comments on the show. Of course, we'll read them from the regular chat as well, but we really prefer the Streamlabs. So that's going to guarantee us reading your comment about what's going on for sure. So send you see the Streamlabs address right above Winston and I's head. It's also pinned in the chat and the description of this video. So let's get into it. And that's what I'm talking about is the 49ers. They bounced back from this 3-game skid. They took a couple weeks off, got healed. Deebo Samuel came back, and Brock Purdy looked like a game killer again, man. Threw for 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a QBR of 87.8 and a rating of 148.9, which is pretty incredible. He averaged over 11 yards per throw through the course of the game. McCaffrey had 16 carries for 95 yards, as well as 6 catches, 47 yards. George Kittle had 3 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk got a touchdown as well, and they absolutely stomped the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville 34-3. So is this a we got healed up, now we're back on course type of victory, or does this expose the Jaguars as another pretend AFC playoff team?
So know thy enemy, right? And so far the biggest threat to the Cowboys as far as actually getting back to the promised land has been the 49ers. There's been no team that we've played that has really had, like, the Niners treat us the way we treat the Giants, with zero respect and just abuse them, right? The Niners, I will give them credit when they are firing on all cylinders, look like world beaters. However, it has been proven multiple times this season. I do not trust a single effing team in the league. I don't. I really don't. Now, they still look super dangerous.
Yeah.
But you got to kind of look at record 6-3. We're sitting at the same record right now. I still think they're better than us, but you know what I'm saying? Like, as much crap as I've been giving the Eagles about these aren't convincing wins, these are by the hair of their teeth. I'll tell you this much. If every fight Batman was in, because Batman's superpower is that he doesn't lose. If every fight Batman was in, he's like, I broke every bone in my body, but I stopped Bane.
Yeah.
That's still a victory. You know what I'm saying? And until the San Francisco can not just do one game against a good team, but can do this consistently like they were doing before their skid, then I'm not convinced. On top of the fact that what I've found very interesting is now that Brock Purdy had been brought back down to earth.
Yeah.
I since I didn't watch this game directly, because like I mentioned the Friendsgiving earlier,
I
did go back and look at some of the highlights. I did watch some of the talking heads talk about Brock Purdy, and they brought up some interesting facts, and including the fact that having Trent Williams made him so much better.
Of course.
Having Deebo back made him so much better. But all of those mistakes that started to just kind of bubble up to the surface with him, he was still making them. He just has such a better team around him at this moment because the injuries are currently fixed.
Right.
That he's okay. It's the Niners defense that was really he was screwing up, but the Niners defense wasn't around to do the job they normally do. So all that being said, they look like the best team in the NFC right now, though I will still edge them out and say it's the Eagles because I'm looking at record. I'm looking at went to the championship. I think Jalen Hurts is a much better quarterback. I think you have just as many weapons on offense. So I'm going to edge it out for the Eagles. But this is, at least if there were Niners fans who were panicking, the panic can stop. Then at the very least, they were back to form of they're going to make the playoffs. And they're back to form that they will probably win the division because I think they're a little stronger than Seattle because Seattle is really up and down. So there's that. That's all I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you needed a victory like this, and you needed a victory against a possible playoff contender in the Jaguars. They really exposed the Jaguars in Jacksonville. It's pretty surprising. And Brock Purdy answered questions about his abilities on the road. Remember, that was a big thing too, coming into that 3-game skid. When we came out of it, it was pretty clear that Brock Purdy has issues on the road. Well, scoring 34 points shows you he doesn't have issues if he's got time to prepare. And as you said, if Trent Williams comes back, so he has his backside protected, and he's got Debo as an extra weapon on there, I think it all worked out for him. He looked good. Trevor Lawrence is the question coming out of this game. He was responsible for 3 out of 4 turnovers. I saw Stephen A. Smith lose his mind on Trevor Lawrence on ESPN the other day. And I think there's some valid criticism to be had here. He is still in his 3rd year, so I think you've got to temper that criticism a little bit. But there are moments where he kind of shuts off or turns off or gives up, at least by his play. And you have to start to question if this is a guy who's going to get over this stuff, because he said all the right things after the game. It's a tough loss. You got to go through these things, learn from them, come out of them, then flush it down the toilet. But if this looks like a bit of a weakness that you might be able to expose if you're a defense in the AFC to rattle Trevor Lawrence the way the 49ers did, he couldn't find a way back. He got punched in the mouth and laid there, man. So that is concerning if I was Jackson.
So here's the other thing that I think is very interesting. I don't really see a good win on Jacksonville.
Oh, no surprise.
You could make the argument, I guess, Buffalo, but Buffalo now looks just like Miami and being fool's gold. Buffalo, and then it's like that's what's crazy. They might miss the playoffs at this point. But like I'm looking at who he's beat. Indianapolis. Okay. Sure, you beat them twice. It's a division rival. You technically have more talent than them at the current, so you were expected to do that. Fine. You let Houston get you because CJ Stroud is apparently the goddamn truth.
He is,
and he started his campaign for MVP / rookie of the year in that game where he just embarrassed Jacksonville. You lost to Kansas City. You just lost to San Francisco. So these are all the top teams in the league here, and you're not pulling it off. You beat Pittsburgh, but I don't trust really any team in the AFC North because they can't make up their mind if they're going to be good or bad. One minute it's like, hey, damn, Cincinnati on that roll, baby. Ooh, that's a bad loss. Damn, hey, man, look at the Baltimore Ravens just abusing people. Damn, what the fuck, bro? Hey, look at Cleveland. Bitch. Like none of them can decide if they actually want to be good or not. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like they want to take the top spot and then they want to drop it. And then New Orleans, Derek Carr, he's not the answer. Like you don't have a good victory here. So the Jaguars might also be fool's gold, in which case it's going to look like a bunch of old people fighting in a parking lot. And it's just like whoever happens to survive when it's over, or like a bunch of little kids, they all on the playground. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It just,
I think the power has shifted a little bit. And I think there's more possibilities in the NFC than there is in the AFC. Honestly, I mean, looking at the Eagles, they look great. The Lions look fucking fantastic coming out this weekend, outlasting the Chargers. The 49ers looked like they might have the right of the ship there. Seattle took all the Commanders could give to them and still got the victory there at the end. Dallas looked fantastic here. The Vikings may be reborn under Josh Dobbs. So this is what I see from the NFC. And you look at the AFC, the Chiefs are a shaky 7-2 with that makeshift offense of theirs. The Ravens showed that they're completely vulnerable against a division opponent, up 14 with 11 minutes left in the game, and lose. The Jaguars got absolutely their asses handed to them. The Dolphins look like fool's gold. The Steelers, give me a fucking break. The Cleveland Browns there, maybe. And the Texans might sneak in. And the Bengals look like they got exposed. Let me tell you this. Right now, the Bengals, the Bills, and the Dolphins, 2 out of those 3 teams are not going to make the playoffs. I'm telling you right now, as we're sitting here. Go ahead,
I was just looking at this, man, and I'm telling you, I think the only team out of the AFC that I would trust to potentially go the distance, and they're really resting on their laurels here, would be the Chiefs. And that's resting on your laurels because we've talked about how there's offensive issues. And if you think you're going to deal with the Niners defense, with an Eagles defense, with the Lions defense, with the Cowboys defense that are genuinely getting in people's asses, sure, Patrick Mahomes will be able to move around, but he's throwing a lot of interceptions. There's a lot of ball turnover stuff that, yes, their defense is good, but their offense ain't peak Patrick Mahomes. I'm abusing you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, so none of the AFC teams really are doing anything. I would give you the Texans maybe, but A, they're 7th,
We don't
and
know
B,
yet.
Stroud is a rookie. We don't know what he can really do yet. My mind is blown watching him play, but like, they will most likely snatch a wild card spot at this point. The way they're playing, I think they will snatch a wild card spot. I'm very curious to see what they do with it. Yeah. I'm very curious to see if they can win even one game out of this rookie campaign of CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I picked up CJ Stroud in fantasy last week. He was lying on the waiver wire, and I picked him right up. It got me 20 points this week when Hurts was out because of the bye. So yeah, I like that kid. He certainly showed up against Cincinnati, led him to a victory. And maybe that's the next thing we should talk about. Or actually, no, you know what? I'm going to make a little call here, and let's move on to the Cincinnati game against the Texans here. CJ Stroud showing it that he is absolutely going to win that offensive rookie of the year if this keeps going here, leading the Houston Texans on another game-winning drive in this season as a rookie. He threw for 356 yards and led a drive over the final 93 seconds to put the team into position for Matt Mendola to hit a 38-yard field goal as time expired to beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati, who everyone thought had righted the ship and came into this game after that victory against the 49ers, ready and looking like a team to beat, and they got beat by these Texans. I don't know if this is Cincinnati falling asleep and overlooking the Texans, or if this is the Texans really kind of announcing their presence on the stage here and moving quickly through their progressions as a team, because CJ shows nothing but courage and bravery, and he has no fear and ice in his veins as he plays. So what do you take out of this game for both of these teams? Because now Cincinnati drops to 5-4 and ties with Houston 5-4. So we were talking about Cincinnati's Super Bowl championship team. Well, here comes Houston, who is the same record after that victory over Cincinnati. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, look, man, I think that Cincinnati will be fine.
Yeah.
It's not a good look, but I think that this speaks more to people underestimating the Texans than it speaks to the Bengals in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody said the Bengals were going to go undefeated the rest of the way. And I know there are technically harder games to come, but how I would make the argument that all 5 teams that the Texans have beat underestimated them. They beat the no. They beat the Jaguars, underestimated them. They beat the Steelers, definitely underestimated them with 36 victory. The Saints got embarrassed by them at 20-13. And then in a nail biter against Baker Mayfield, who's putting quietly a pretty decent campaign together here. He got that victory too. So like all of those wins, like what's interesting, CJ Stroud has a number of signature wins here. Yeah. That's like, you're looking at a very recent AFC champion. Yeah. You're looking at a Buccaneers team that, even though there's a lot of restructuring that's gone on with no Brady and all that, they're only 2-3 years removed from a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? And then the Jaguars, we just talked about how they got some injuries, but they're 6-3.
You're right.
So they're still like a winning team.
So
like
are the Steelers, 6-3, the Steelers.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like, I think what's really going on, and I think what is super interesting, there was a conversation where Chad Ochocinco was saying, "Hey, Uncle Shaw, you got to put Dak as a part of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now." And Shado was like, "I ain't gonna let you do that. Come on, look here, Ochocinco." Like, he was like, we ain't doing this shit. And so he started listing the folks off.
Yeah,
but they go, this idea that like, oh, Caleb Williams shouldn't come out because he don't want to go to a bad organization. Joe Burrow, look how bad Cincinnati was, and he turned that ship around.
Yeah, true.
Look at how bad the Jaguars were, and Trevor Lawrence, for the most part, has actually been a blessing for that team.
Yeah.
So this is what CJ Stroud is doing. He took a team that was not really a team.
Yeah. And
he's making that shit work, bro.
Suffering after the Deshaun Watson situation, and he's making it work. Yeah, good point. Yeah. This is interesting too, because I mean, the two teams that the Texans, or the 2 teams that the Steelers have lost to, 2 of the 3 teams, right? They lost to the 49ers 30-7. They lost to the Texans 30-6. So it's almost comparable, the scores that you've got there. So if the Texans have figured this out halfway through the season, I think everybody needs to watch out in the AFC because the Texans could absolutely slide in there because it ain't how you start, it's how you finish. And they've got the Cardinals, the Jaguars, the Broncos, the Jets, the Titans, Browns, Titans again, the Colts. Those are all winnable games for the Texans. They could go on a run here. If they win, if they win 6 out of these next remaining 8 games, they are set for the playoffs. So that to me is very interesting when you look at this team for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's move on to the Browns-Ravens situation here. As we kind of alluded to, the Ravens blew it against the Browns here. And also one more thing about the Cincinnati game. Joe Burrow threw back-to-back fourth-quarter interceptions that were pretty terrible. So just like with Brock Purdy, as you said earlier, Winston, like we saw the traits come back a little bit in the Jaguars game, but look, they just handled business and took care of it. So you could paper that over. These interceptions look like Burrow at the beginning of the season, and that's not good. And that should be something maybe Cincinnati should be concerned about.
But I'll say this much, man. And I am more concerned about Josh Allen than I am about Joe Burrow.
Well,
for a couple of reasons, other than the fact that Joe Burrow has gone further in the postseason. He has been more consistently had his act together, whereas we'll get to Josh Allen. Why are we throwing some of these ridiculous interceptions that are costing your team? Like, what pisses me off about Josh Allen? Dak Prescott was doing the same shit last year, and people were eviscerating him, and it feels like, man, Josh, what are you doing? Instead of like, yo, like they were calling Dak trash. They were calling him straight trash.
True.
If Dak did the same thing that he did last night, I would never hear the end of it. So I think that Joe Burrow will be fine, honestly.
Okay.
Can't say the same about Buffalo.
Fair point. Well, Deshaun Watson here, they paid a lot of money for Deshaun Watson, and maybe this game shows you why, this game against the Ravens, because he went perfect in the second half. He was perfect. Nobody dropped the ball. He completed every pass in the second half, and he was instrumental in leading these Browns against these Ravens, this upset victory. Yeah, there was an interception, pick six that really kind of turned things around. Lamar couldn't get it done in the back half of the fourth quarter against that Cleveland defense. And in the end, Deshaun Watson took him there, 213 yards, only 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But Jerome Ford had himself a monster game, 107 yards against a very tough and stout Ravens defense. Amari Cooper, former Cowboy, 6 catches, 98 yards there. No, former Giant. Sorry, right? Former Giant, former Cowboy, both, right?
Who? Amari Cooper? He was former Cowboy.
Former Cowboy.
Raiders, Cowboys, Browns.
That's it. Raiders, Cowboys, Browns. Right. And Odell, speaking of former Brown, Odell Beckham Jr. had a touchdown, but it still wasn't enough in the end. And the Cleveland Browns took care of business here. This is so interesting. They are 6-3. This AFC North is going to be a battle all the way to the end. The Ravens are 7-3, Pittsburgh and Cleveland at 6-3, Cincinnati 5-4.
Bro,
1 or 2 games separating these teams. This is going to be nasty.
This is last year in the NFC East, now in the AFC North, where every team was kicking ass. Even your asses that missed the playoffs by that much were kicking ass. You were abusing teams to the point where you're like, is Tyler Heinicke our answer? And you're like, no, get him the fuck out of here. I don't want him here.
We were one bullshit pass interference non-call against the Giants away from getting in the playoffs. That's for sure. Yeah. Ridiculous.
Oh my goodness, man.
No, but I love it. I think it's great. The AFC, I grew up in a time when the AFC North was a tough ass division and great teams with the Steelers and the Ravens and the Browns and the Bengals every once in a while with Carson Palmer popping up. They were a formidable team. So I like that these teams, I don't know how many of them are legitimate though, because Pittsburgh, Pickett, I don't really have a lot of faith in Pickett. Tomlin is the reason they're winning there. And with Cleveland, Deshaun, we're still figuring out what we have with Deshaun with those injuries. The Bengals, are they now kind of falling apart or are they putting it together? We don't know now after this loss. And then you look at the Ravens. The Ravens have some ugly losses on their schedule. Yeah, they're 7-3, but they have some ugly losses there that make you question things. So this is going to be interesting to see how this AFC North plays out to see what happens for sure. Don't be surprised if the Ravens don't win the division. Don't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because there's a part of me that feels like I've got abandonment issues, John. So I don't do well with this idea of not having something consistent, like the sun's gonna rise and set. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
I hear
if
you.
it occasionally, like it's a cloudy ass day, I know the sun is still there.
Right.
But like, I can deal with that. The one thing about this season where like it's entertaining, but it does give me anxiety. I cannot point to that is the team that everybody needs to be concerned about. And
No, you're
barring
right.
in any given Sunday situation in like the playoffs where all of a sudden they just like when the Bengals essentially beat the Chiefs. They were a very good team, but everybody had the Chiefs taking that and the Bengals pulled it off. You know what I'm saying? Unless that happens, I just want to be able to put my hat on. That's the team to beat. I can't do it. And it's so nerve-wracking.
A really good therapist I had once upon a time said to me, you got to learn to live in the unknown. It's uncomfortable. It sucks. It's the worst, but you got to learn to live in the unknown. And we are clearly in the unknown in the NFL because you're 100% right. There is no one team you can point to and say they're the best team in the NFL. Even the Eagles at 8-1 have been grinding out those victories. Luckily, in some moments, and the Chiefs as well with their shaky offense. So you can't say that even with the top two teams in each conference. So it's a real interesting time for sure. And another team, and we'll get this before the break, another team that might be upsetting the apple cart are the Lions again, getting this victory against the Chargers here. They are now 7-2 on the year, for God's sakes. Jared Goff, another 300-yard game for him, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns at a 122.4 QB rating. Also, David Montgomery got himself 116 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, thank you for my fantasy points. He got 2 touchdowns, ran for 77 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown got himself 8 catches for 156 yards and a touchdown. Not to be outdone, Herbert was winging it out there too. He threw for 4 touchdowns, 323 yards here. Keenan Allen had another monster game with 11 catches, 475 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in the end, the Lions did just enough to get the victory here in Los Angeles against a game Chargers team. So where do you go with this, Winston? Do you take more that the Lions won this game or that the Chargers showed a lot of heart to fight all the way to the end?
Ain't no heart with the Chargers, bro. The Chargers are the goddamn Clippers.
Oof.
I don't care how much talent you bring in here. You brought in the curse of being the secondary team in the city of Los Angeles. And in doing so, you're like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I only follow baseball so much.
Right.
The Angels have not won anything in any recent memory, right?
It's been a while.
How long are we talking?
Rally Monkey, which is maybe the mid 2000s. Like
so they did win something like mid. Okay. So then that's where they're a little better than the Angels are a little better than the Clippers and the Chargers as far as that goes. But I'm looking at this team, bro, and it reminds me of the Clippers with the Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul, JJ Redick era, where they're like beating the brakes off of teams. And then when it's time to actually win, you just get bounced and embarrassed. Couldn't get out the first round. The Chargers have consistently done this. They did it when they were in San Diego, but it feels much worse right now, honestly, because at least Phillip Rivers was like similar to the Cowboys, who's putting up 13 in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, I ran against Tom Brady. I ran against Peyton Manning. Like, fuck, like I'm good, but they're great. I don't know what to do. You don't play this game like this and have this kind of rally back. Just to not finish it. And at home, the Chargers keep losing these games that they kind of have in hand, and they're giving people a run for their money, but they clearly don't have the DNA to win. And I don't know if that's the coaching staff. Like, I feel like it is. I feel like that is a conversation where I'm like, Rocha, enough of your shit. I know how much you know. I know you know Westerns, bitch. Fucking handle your shit. I don't give a shit if they get opponent's choice. Figure it out, bitch. You have the talent. And then you'd be like, you're right, man. You're right. Versus like, man, that was a rough loss. That's okay. That's okay, baby. You'll get them next time. Yeah. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that in Los Angeles. Nobody's doing that to the Chargers. Nobody's being like, wake the fuck up. And as long as that's happening, they're going to be like this.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But I'm loving the Lions. They're my quietly favorite team in the NFC, and I want to see them shock the world and maybe sneak into that Super Bowl, kind of like the Falcons did that year when they upset Randall Cunningham. No one saw the Falcons coming, and they got into the Super Bowl. Of course, they got beat by the Broncos, but still it was pretty impressive to see them get there. Let me correct myself. The last time the Angels won a World Series, 2002. I had no idea it's been that long. God damn it. The years just kind of slam into each other.
They go real fast, but 21 years. Like that now years. The Chargers, that's the Angels. So the Angels sound like the Cowboys of the MLB. You know what I'm saying? like what, you're just going to take 2 days. You're going to have a whole human go to college since the last time you were relevant? Like in the championship ball? Like, goddamn. But like the Chargers don't even have that. They don't even have. Went to the Super Bowl with Phillip Rivers back in when did he get in the league? I think he got in like 2004. We went to the Super Bowl, in like 2009. We just didn't pull it off, baby. Nah, they just can't. They can't do it.
Well, let me ask you a question because we got to go to break here, but I got to ask you a question. Oh, am I slowing down here? Okay, there we go. Because this popped up, and I've heard this more and more over the last couple of days, watching people talking about the NFL. We're mentioning the Chargers. I got to throw the Commanders in this pile because there are rumors coming out of the NFL that Belichick is possibly going to be fired maybe before the end of the season or after the season. And the rumors are that he could go to Los Angeles to take care of the Chargers or the Commanders. If you're a Bill Belichick, are you going with a ground one rebuild in Washington, or are you going to a talented team in Los Angeles to play second fiddle to the Rams? But you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert with a lot of tools that you could maybe turn into a mini Tom Brady for the time that you're there. Would you believe it if he'd left, and which would you choose?
I would say this. It depends on what he wants, and it has nothing to do with football. It would be personal life.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is there is no reason to go to Washington. No offense. You guys are no. At his age,
we're a rebuild. We're a rebuild.
Why would he want to do that? Especially knowing as much power and pull as he's had in New England, he helped with the rebuild, and that completely failed. So there's nothing there for him to do that. Not the Bears either. That's also stupid. What do you have in Chicago? I see somebody say, "Oh, go to the Bears." What do you have in Chicago? Why would he go to another super cold place in the middle of the reason you would pick the reason you would pick Washington. You did get a couple picks you can kind of work with and whatnot, but it's mainly because you're not that far from where you currently reside. Yeah. So if you don't want to just upend your family and move to the other side of the country, it's easier to just be like, I'll stay here in Washington and we'll try something here. Otherwise, if he has to pick between one, you take Los Angeles, it's Los Angeles, and you actually have a team that can do something. They just need to be coached better. Yeah. So like if you essentially are looking for that, you take your ass to the other side of the country. But if you don't want to upend your family because he's in his 70s, then you go to Washington. And because the thing that would make the most sense, you got your rings. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. You're still probably going to be considered arguably the best coach to ever coach football. So just fucking retire.
Yeah, it's possible. That's what Jimmy Johnson did after the Miami stint. He's like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go retire and be a sportscaster and live on my boat in Miami. So, I mean, there's a possibility Belichick could take off down the road. We shall see. Well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into some more of the games from week 10 and answer any of your Streamlabs that have come through, and we'll be right back right after this. All right, let's get into it. I do want to get these. To I am Two Fly Cam, Mr. Seattle Seahawks says, hello, guys. I must say, John, your Commanders, I'm not going to use that term you used, are so annoying because they play so hard and come so close, and we all know it's for no reason. Yeah, just like Seattle. Another L for your joke coach and franchise. GG. I don't know what that means. Also, Winston, your Cowboys. Huh?
Good game.
Oh, good game. Fair enough. Also, Winston, your Cowboys love front running, and it's hilarious. Also to Winston, CD said he's the best wide receiver in the league. LOL. He's not even in the top 5. In no order, it's Tyreek, AJ, Jefferson, Chase, Devontae Adams. Someone get that man a reality check.
Who said this?
I am Two Fly Cam. Yeah.
Clearly, I am Two Fly Cam.
I mean,
just like stirring the motherfucking pot because CD has been embarrassing motherfuckers.
Yeah. Like look good.
Bro, first of all, they just did a stat that he's the first receiver in NFL history to have 3 games in a row with over 10 receptions and over 150 yards.
Wow.
He's the first receiver to do that in fucking history.
Yeah.
So that's the meaning that it wasn't just like I had the one big play like an AJ Brown catching it and then being the fucking giraffe that he is, being able to outrun the fuck out of people for an 80-yard touchdown score. You know what I'm saying? Which is like still super impressive. I'm not going to take that away from him, but there's something a little bit different than like, I went and got 14 balls and I said, bitch, and then like got a quick 12. And then I did get a 20-yard pass. And like CD is playing lights out. And I would make the argument, and it's going to sound like I'm some fucking homer, that Lamb is out here outplaying all the rest of these receivers, because the other thing that I will give him credit for, there's a lot of amazing receivers in the fucking league, man.
Oh, sure.
But like, how did CD go from being 15 to the third fucking receiver in the league right now? He's at 975. AJ Brown is at 1,005. Tyreek Hill is at 1,076. He is now the third receiver as far as yards go. As far as receptions, he's tied for sixth. So that's also saying something.
Yeah.
And then as far as TDs, a little less. We're not going to talk about that. It's not important. Not fucking important. We don't need to talk about that shit. But my point is, bro, you can't watch somebody and do what he just did in these last few weeks and then be like, oh, no, he ain't even in the fucking conversation. Miss me with that shit. Why hasn't Stephon Diggs been able to just secure games for Buffalo? Why all of a sudden is Tyreek Hill, who was an MVP candidate, not doing what needs to be done to get his team over the hump? The only person that you could even talk to me about this remotely would be AJ Brown, because they are 8-1. So clearly what he's doing is having effects. CeeDee Lamb is out here making sure we win motherfucking games. So, okay, thank you for your money. Your take was terrible.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and your take on the Commanders. I mean, I'd be embarrassed if I was a Seahawks fan this morning or yesterday morning. I mean, the fact that you barely beat us in your own hometown, and it took Geno Smith to drive the ball down the field and catch us sleeping on a couple of those passes just to have a shot to win the game, just so you can get knocked out in the first round if you even make the playoffs, doesn't make any sense to me. So enjoy another 9-8 season. That's probably where you're headed, at most 10-7, and then you're going to get knocked out in the first round. You're not going anywhere with Geno Smith. No offense. You're not going anywhere with Geno Smith.
Which makes me sad. I like Geno, but I will also...
You're only half a rank higher than the Commanders. You really are. And that proves the game, 39-36. That proves it, the score, how you're just this little bit extra better than we are. Yeah, go ahead.
All I was going to say is, on top of that, he mentioned Devontae Adams. I am not going to sit here and pretend like Devontae Adams does. Because, I almost forgot. Cowboys have had their bye, and he's number 3. So there are people that have played 10 games, and he's still number 3. All I was going to say is, with Devontae Adams, his talent, you're right. But as far as putting him in a top 5 this season, not even fucking close. Yeah, not even close. And I also see somebody said that CD's being force-fed. Okay, cool. Guess what he's actually doing with it? Turning it into something. Because there are plenty of people that they'll be force-fed stuff. I'm looking at receivers, for example. Like Mike Evans is actually having a decent season. I'll give him credit. But you want to talk about Baker Mayfield kind of force-feeding stuff, and it doesn't always turn into something. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to talk about force-feeding? How about force-feeding Kelsey, because you don't have anybody else to fucking throw to? Yeah, and he's not, as far as receiving goes, he's the 23rd. We consider him a big wide receiver. He's 23rd on this list. Yeah. So, like, again, you say what you want. I'm not going to allow for CD slander. I really won't. I really won't.
Sean Brennan said, great work as always, fellas. How many teams, good to see you, Sean, how many teams have a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl? I think there are about 4 out of the Bengals, Browns, Bills, Steelers, and Texans. Who will miss the playoffs this year? Good
Bengals,
question.
Browns, Steelers,
Bills, Steelers, and Texans.
I think the Texans have a higher probability of losing, of not making it, just because rookie team figuring their shit out, etc. I know they're on a roll, but I think pedigree helps. And I'll be honest, I think the Bills are well on their way. You can't do this, man.
Yeah. Bengals, Bills seem like odds-on favorites at this point. Browns, Steelers, I think it'll come down to, I think Deshaun is a better quarterback than Pickett, so maybe in the back half of the season here, Deshaun is going to lead them to more victories than Pittsburgh, so maybe Pittsburgh is the odd team out there. We'll see. And the Texans, I think they've got the easiest schedule, so it seems like the road is laid out for them. But if you look back at the first half of the season, they've got some ugly losses to some shitty teams. you should not be losing to the fucking Panthers, for God's sakes. So there's maybe something to explore there. Some tendencies to have a little doubts about the Texans. So we shall see. But yeah, and how many teams have a legitimate shot to win the Super Bowl? Yeah, I think maybe 4 or 5.
All of them, Rocha. Honestly,
yeah, well, fair,
not because it's like, oh, you made the playoffs, you have a shot. I mean, no team has proven to be dominant. So
you're 100% right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it genuinely feels like any team has a legitimate shot. Now, some are better than others, but we've said it a number of times. There's a lot of good teams. There are no great teams.
100% right. 100% right. Well, let's move on to the Bills game, and let's talk about this. This happened last night. This cost me my fantasy matchup in my league because Javonte Williams got a touchdown right at the end there that kind of turned things around.
I gotta send something to you to put up.
Which screwed me to pieces. But the Broncos marched into Buffalo. Buffalo needing a victory here, and they took care of it after they got beat by the Bengals, and they took care of business here against these Bills, 24-22. This was a shocking display by the Bills in their own hometown. It was 15-15 at one point in the third quarter. I'm like, 15 points on this Denver defense is the best you can do here. Josh Allen, 15 of 26, only 177 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 terrible interceptions. James Cook looked good, got 12 carries for 109 yards. And then Gabe Davis only 56 yards receiving. Stephon Diggs, 34 yards receiving. That's all he had. But in the end, Russell led them to victory. Now, this is an interesting situation, man, because, you can talk about the Bills and underperforming. The Broncos are on a 3-game winning streak. All right. They've beaten the Packers. They've beaten the Chiefs. And now they've beaten the Bills. Newsflash, breaking news. Sean Payton is a damn good coach. And just maybe he needed to figure out how to play with this personnel. And just maybe he has. And if he has, don't be surprised if the Broncos go on a little bit of a run themselves and maybe scare some people in the AFC West. They've got the Vikings next, which I think is going to be a real interesting matchup because you have both teams that kind of want to show that they've got the chance to get into these playoffs and they've turned their seasons around. And this could be an interesting matchup on Sunday. Then they got the Browns, the Texans, the Chargers, the Lions, the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Raiders, all winnable games if this is the Broncos that are currently playing right now in the NFL. So what do you take away from this game about the Bills and the Broncos, brother?
I want you to go ahead and pull up real quick
the
screen share that I have because I'm gonna tell you.
Oh,
so I went into this game down like probably like 15 some points, whatever the fuck it was. I'd have to go back and look. Maybe it was somewhere between like 8 and 15, somewhere in that range. Enough that I was like, and here's the layout. I had James Cook. I had Williams and I had the Buffalo defense, and he had Kincaid. So initially, Kincaid goes off. Cook ain't doing shit.
Right.
And then Williams also hadn't kind of caught his groove yet. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning, I'm like, well, I'm fucked. And then I end up in a situation where now this final drive from Buffalo, they keep feeding Cook. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay. So now I'm down 1 point because I'm like, give him the ball to finish what he started. No, Josh Allen gonna run it in. I'm like, fuck. So now I got Williams, but they're not gonna run the ball because they need to get down in the field goal range, and they don't have any goddamn timeouts. And I also don't need them to score a touchdown because if they score a touchdown, Buffalo's gonna lose points. I'm about to lose here too, right?
Yeah.
And then Buffalo beautifully gets a sack right before they then have to go and get that final field goal. The field goal isn't enough to tip it over. On the right side here, you see I won. The exact math is by 0.289999999999.
Yeah.
So all I have to say is the only reason that I bring this up is that Buffalo and their effing nonsense allowed for me to come with the slimmest margin of victories. And that's kind of how they lost. It was a beautiful story to be like, DeMar Hamlin's first play back on the field on defense. Oh my God, he got a tackle. Great job, bro. And then he's the 12th man on the field that cost them the game.
Just terrible.
I saw some awful memes. Yeah. I saw some. I'm not gonna repeat them, but there were some that were like, I was like, yo, I need the Bills Mafia to chill the F out, bro. Oh my God.
Here's my fantasy situation. See right there. I was so close to winning this matchup, and I lost by 0.06, 1.06 because of Williams getting 21 points in my league. If he got 19 points, I would have won. In your league, he gets 19 points. In my league, he got 21 points, and that ended up being the difference. I went in 17 points ahead of this person, and I ended up losing in the end because of those handoffs and that throw. I mean, and then he didn't play the rest of the game. Samaje Perine came in and played the next two series for the Broncos, and Williams never saw the field again. I'm like, God damn it, couldn't you have taken him out one series?
Why do you think I was panicking the entirety of that last drive by Russell Wilson? I was like,
oh yeah,
you put because again, I didn't have the sack yet, so I was down a point. I was like, put Williams in, let Williams run it. That's why I was like, let Cook finish the job. Anything. For the love of God, then I was like, Russell Wilson, throw a goddamn interception to something, bro. Like, I need something that sack saved my ass. And then I stayed up all night being like, please, Jesus, no stat corrections. No stat corrections.
Yeah, but I mean, you come out of this game. Yes, I think the Broncos look like they might have turned some stuff around here. Cortland Sutton had another great game for them, and Russell looking like he's kind of maybe possibly put together some strong stuff. And then you're looking at the Bills, though. The Bills look real suspect. And this morning, Sean McDermott, the coach of the Bills, fired his offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, former University of Miami quarterback and somewhat NFL journeyman quarterback. He was running the offense, and they fired him. And I think this is like papering over a crack that is the size of a wall with just like a Band-Aid, because the problem is Ken Dorsey didn't call 12 people to run onto the field. Ken Dorsey isn't the one throwing those gunslinging interceptions. Ken Dorsey isn't the one dropping the balls or fumbling the balls. And Ken Dorsey, to me, isn't the problem going on in Buffalo. It's Sean McDermott. And it feels like, to me, like the team has tuned out Sean McDermott completely, and he is on his way out the fucking door of Buffalo, because there's way too much talent on both sides of the ball to be pissing this away at this point yet again for another season. And we may have seen the ceiling of Sean McDermott here, the most he can do with this team. And I just feel bad because there's a lot of good players on that damn team, and they are being wasted here, possibly under Sean McDermott, man. Do you think it's time to get rid of him?
I would actually make the argument that I am more concerned about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is still a ball. He's still a baller, but why are you making these kind of mistakes that, again, when Dak was doing it, people were like, Dak has to go.
That's true.
They were ready to throw Dak out in the cold. At what point does Josh Allen have to answer for his crimes against the Bills Nation, against the Bills Mafia, bro? Like, he would have been sleeping with the fishes. You know what I'm saying? If the real mafia was sponsoring this motherfucker. Like,
and the crazy part is, Winston, like they got a good running game out of their running back, which is something that they have been missing for so long in Buffalo. And James Cook gave him 109 yards on 12 carries. That should have been enough to get you the victory with Josh Allen, all things being equal. And he couldn't get it done even when his running back showed up to play. So, yeah.
So, at what point, do we need to look at Josh and go, he's still better than most of the quarterbacks in the league. I'm not going to pretend like he's not. But like, at what point do we need to call him out for it? Because that was the same issue with Dak Prescott. You weren't going to really find a quarterback that was available on the market that was going to be better than Dak. So there's a point at which you just have to look at Josh and be like, I need you to spend this summer becoming Tom Brady's best friend and figure this shit the fuck out. I don't even fuck with the Bills because he's a Patriot his entire life. But you better call somebody. You better have your people connect his people or some shit. You better do a commercial with motherfucking Patrick Mahomes and be like, my guy, how you doing this shit? Because
that's fair.
This ain't it.
I want to take issue with Sean's post. Sean said here, deeply flawed 7-2 Chiefs team. Those 4-5 Broncos look impressive. Shake my head. Those 4-5 Broncos whooped your ass last week. What are you talking about, Sean? You got whooped by that 4 and 5.
You got whooped. And the other thing is, here's the thing. You know how there's like sometimes it feels like a parent is playing favoritism with one child over the other? What it really is, if you have one smart child and one idiot child, and your idiot child does something incredible and your smart child is fucking up, the mom is a little bit harder on the smart child, being like, you dumb motherfucker. How could you? Whereas idiot child, look at you bringing home an A. That's my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like
I cheered every time George Bush was able to say nuclear correctly instead of nuclear, which he used to say when but that's the bar. That's the bar. Okay. And so if your team is, and this is where Sean always gets lost in, is like everything's the same. No, it isn't. You have different perspectives for different teams. You expect more from the Chiefs. So when they're not doing as well, they get more criticism. You know why? Because everyone sucks their dick when they're winning. With the Broncos, they had a terrible start to the season. So the fact that they're on a three-week game winning streak here, and they look like they've solved some issues, I wonder if the Broncos would beat the Dolphins if they played again now, currently, instead of the 70-20 the score line, that the Broncos might actually beat the Dolphins. So it's a different situation. I think Winston said it best too. You're harder on your smart child because you expect more. That's the way it works.
You expect more. Look, I'll put it to you this way. There's a lot of ladies out there that are talking about how the bar is so low. Men have been such trash for so long. The bar is so low. Meaning when like a guy just like sends flowers being like, it's Tuesday. Oh my God. John is so wet. But then when you have a situation where like, I'm trying to think of who, Jay-Z, for example, everything that had been said about Jay-Z up to that point. Incredible husband, great businessman, loves Beyonce to death, all that. When you all of a sudden found out that Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce, you're like, nigga, what? What are you doing?
You said that. Yeah.
I said it. Sorry, fine. Negro, what? You can't say that either. Jay-Z, what? You know what I'm saying?
Really good rap artist. What?
Really good rap artist. What? So it's like, if you're expecting the world out of somebody and they colossally fail, you get upset. Of course. And if you do not expect much from somebody and they succeed, you get really impressed. And that's what's going on with the Broncos and Chiefs. Sean, you know I don't have a blood feud with the Chiefs, but I'm going to call like I see it. Rocha clearly has a vendetta, but I'm just being honest with you. I've always been honest. You don't have receivers outside of Travis Kelce, and y'all been sus all season compared to what you normally do.
Yeah. Listen, I come from a Latino family. They are harder on the smarter children than they are on the dumb children. And so, that's the difference. You're harder on the one who goes to Harvard than the one who goes to prison 4 times. That's just how it works. So anyway,
Jesus Christ. It's stereotype much.
I mean, it's my people. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get into the rest of the NFL, talk this Michigan stuff. If you want to send your Streamlabs, now is the time as we're turning the corner here for the last few parts of the show. So send them in as we're going along. I promise we'll answer them here in the show. We'll be right back right after this. All right, Winston, let's get into the rest of the NFL here. Your Cowboys, Dak Prescott, as we mentioned earlier, threw for 5 touchdowns, and they routed the Giants 49-17 for their 12th straight home win, which is a nice quiet stat for them. Kyler Murray came back after all the issues he's had, and he led a game-winning drive here for the Cardinals to beat the Falcons 25-23. I mean, the Falcons are a perfect tonic for anything that ails you as the NFL team. The Vikings, Josh Dobbs got another victory as the starting quarterback for the Vikings here, beating the Saints 27-19 here. Geno Smith had some big throws here, and Jason Myers hit the walk-off field goal to lead the Seahawks past the Commanders, barely 29-26. Jacobs ran for 116 yards for the Raiders, who improved to 2-0 under Antonio Pierce as they beat the Jets 16-12. The hapless Jets. The running backs shined early and the defense shined late as the Steelers beat the Green Bay Packers 23-19. That Jordan Love joy from last week, gone. Baker Mayfield threw for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns to help the Buccaneers stop a 4-game skid and beat the Titans 20-6. Jonathan Taylor ran for an early touchdown, and the Colts beat the Patriots in London, I think it was, or in Germany rather, 10-6. And then Foreman ran for a touchdown, and the Bears beat the Panthers here 16-13. What do you want to talk about from any of these games, man? What stands out to you?
I think that the things that stand out, obviously we've already talked about the Cowboys, so we can move past that.
Yeah.
Though I will say, if Dak continues to play like this, there's no reason at the end of the season he doesn't deserve MVP consideration. Ooh. Because he's averaging just under 400 yards and 3 touchdowns a game. Like, if he's going to do that every single game now, my God, even our loss against the Eagles, nobody was like, man, Dak fucked up. They were just like, damn, wish he could have gotten that last play, but he balled out. Like, team let the Eagles score that much. But I would say I'm most interested here in both Kyler Murray and Josh Dobbs. Dude, Josh Dobbs, what the fuck? Like, I kind of feel like an asshole that I was talking any sort of shit, because he's doing this year what Geno Smith did last year for Seattle, where nobody had any sort of like expectations of him. He's a backup journeyman quarterback, and he is balling. So to win 2 games in your, like, the first one you had been there 5 days or less, and the second one you barely there for less than 2 weeks, and you winning both these games, bro. Come on. What a boss.
I'm very happy for Josh, and I hope the Vikings, I wasn't cheering for the Vikings when Kirk Cousins was their quarterback, but I'm certainly cheering for the Vikings if Josh Dobbs takes them into the playoffs. They'd be a fun, frisky team to get one of those like shocking victories over a team with a better record. So, I mean, you never know. And that, I don't know, that division looks like maybe now it's back up for grabs. So I think that's going to be fascinating to see if the Vikings make a run on that division. Where are they at right now? The Vikings, they are just behind the Lions at 6-4. Lions are 7-2. Lions could take some losses here going into the back half of the season. The Vikings
taking one from us, baby. They're taking one from us, so that'll help the Vikings get back in there. So there's that. But I, dude, I think that there's a very valid point that I saw made by the talking heads. Josh Dobbs is doing this, and Justin Jefferson still ain't on the field. You don't even have your best player, and he's playing like this.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Good quarterbacks listen, this is the thing that people need to understand. If people make it in the NFL, just like in the NBA, if people make it in the NFL, it's because they're actually damn good. Now, are they NFL level caliber consistently great? Not always, but good quarterbacks figure out how to bring the best out of their receivers. Did you know who the fuck Tank Dell was until this year? No, but look at what CJ Stroud is doing with my man down there in Houston. It's incredible what he's been able to do with that guy. Same thing with Pakua, right? Like with Stafford was doing earlier this year with those 2 receivers, 2-2 over there with the Rams. So good quarterbacks know how to bring out the best, even from their journeyman or not star receivers. And so you're seeing that happening here as well. So I think that's a great thing for Josh Dobbs to be doing, unlocking that situation for sure. So we'll see what happens. I'm a fan of Kyler Murray coming back. Look, I know people make fun of him and all the playing the video games and all that nonsense, but maybe, just maybe, this was enough of a humbling for him, and he can come back to this Cardinals team. And then you got to figure out what he's going to do next, because he may play well enough for the Cardinals to either get better return on him in a trade, or in the end possibly just go forward with him as their quarterback. We shall see. But maybe the humbling happened and he's in a better situation overall. I have my doubts, but we shall see overall. But I like Antonio Pierce going 2-0 here for these Raiders. Now comes the harder teams they're going to play. So it's going to be curious to see what we're going to get from there. And we got to talk about Aaron Rodgers, man. We got to talk about this nonsense. What is he doing on the sideline with a fucking headpiece? What is he doing there, messing things up? And the Ringer did a really interesting article breaking down that one of the reasons they think the Jets maybe didn't bring someone in like Josh Dobbs and these other quarterbacks that are roaming around is because they didn't want to upset the apple cart and piss Aaron Rodgers off. And because he's got such a fragile ego, they didn't want to bring someone in who was going to make Aaron like question their commitment to him and maybe outshine him and do better and lead the team to the playoffs. Maybe that was a part of it. So it's very curious when you look at all of it, because you have to ask questions about why they didn't do anything to go get somebody to come in. Because, I mean, he was there. He was available, Josh Dobbs, maybe for the Jets to bring in. So a lot of questions here. Do you like that Rodgers is hanging around the team and talking with the team and picking all these fights? I feel like he's a distraction rather than an aid for the Jets.
I know that is his job. He is still the leader, regardless of. I know he was new to the team. I know that, but he's bringing veteran leadership. He's supposed to be there as far as like a support to Zach Wilson, who clearly is in over his head, and you're trying to help him out like that. I think having him around, as annoying as Aaron Rodgers is to me, kind of in my mind, and how he's positioned himself, the last like year or two. That is what a good leader would do, is be there as a support for whoever's having to quarterback. Like, literally, it's a TV show, but like, look at Friday Night Lights. Jason Street was never going to play football again, but if he wasn't there to show Saracen how to get his shit together, they would not have won state. Again, it's a TV show. The writers decided who won state, but do you get my point as far as like that was good writing, because that is actually what they are supposed to do. I would even make the argument that even though Foles had been in the league longer than Wentz at that point, Wentz was doing the same to make sure that Nick Foles was ready to go, and Nick Foles balled out and won a goddamn Super Bowl for the Eagles. So shit.
Good boy. All right. I don't know if there's anything else we can talk about from the NFL. I was looking to see if there was any breaking news in the NFL, but there isn't much that I see looking at ESPN. Oh wait, the Jets just released Michael Carter, their third running back here on the depth chart.
Oh wow!
They released him 24 hours after Coach Robert Saleh hinted that changes could be coming. He was their 2021 4th-round pick, which was 2 years ago, and the team's leading rusher in 2021. So apparently he was benched after committing a chop block penalty early in the third quarter in the loss against the Raiders. So this opens a spot for Israel Abanikanda. I hope I said that right. A 5th-round pick from
Abanikanda.
That's right. He's expected to play behind Brees and Dalvin Cook. But this is kind of shocking that they'll cut him, but they won't cut Zach Wilson. It's a very interesting situation.
Who you gonna put at quarterback?
Craziness, man.
Huh? What? Trade deadline's over. Who gonna play quarterback? Zach Wilson gone. Who playing?
They must.
You gonna wake up? You gonna wake up Joe Flacco? My man takes naps at 3 p.m. because he tired and he old.
He's like Marino in that commercial. We're reading the plays off his.
You gonna weekend at Bernie's, Joe Flacco? Is that what we doing now?
I mean, it's possible. Isn't there a quarterback? You got Tim Boyle.
Let's see.
You got Tim Boyle. You got Trevor Siemian.
I would make an argument. The reason Tim Boyle has probably not played is probably because Tim Boyle is worse.
Maybe like, is he the Bailey Zapp to Zach Wilson's Mac Jones? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're trying to tell me here? Carson Wentz signed with the Rams. So here's who's available right now. You're out there roaming around on your rocking chair. Matt Ryan is available. Colt McCoy is available. He's gotten a few victories in the NFL before. Nick Foles, who you just mentioned, who's Super Bowl winning quarterback. Bryce Perkins, EJ Perry, Jake Luton, Chase Garbers. I don't even know who these names are.
I like him, but Colt McCoy, Rocha?
I'm just throwing it out there. It's a possibility. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's not much out there. There's not much out there. So.
But also at this point, bro, here's the thing. If you were going to do something about it, you would have done it by now. It's too late.
I know. It's
unless Zach gets hurt, it's too late to do that. You have to ride this out. But if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not rushing to get back. I'm going to get fully healthy and come back next year.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why he's trying. Yeah, he said something. He claimed, or he told one of the sideline reporters that he'll be back in December. And then he's like, "Oh, I was just kidding. Man, shut the fuck up, man. You're not coming back in December. And if you do come back, there should be investigations up the ass of what happened here for real, because somehow your body at the advanced age of 40 can somehow recover better than a younger NFL player's body from an Achilles injury."
Hey, Rocha.
Yeah.
Rocha. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers got Illuminati money, bro. Like, I bet you he just has a whole robotic leg at this point. Like, Jesus Christ.
He's got Magic Johnson money. HIV? It's like no big deal. I'm still alive. Like, it's no big deal. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Last thing I want to talk about, man. Oh, actually, we got a Streamlab that came through. Sorry about that. From I am Two Fly Cam again. He said, Winston will be in Dallas the week after Turkey Day. Seahawks will defeat your Cowboys in your house, and I can't wait for DK Metcalf to outplay CeeDee Lamb. Rocha, do you honestly think Lamb is a top 3 wide receiver? This is just cowboy blindness. LOL. He's good, not great, not special. I'll be honest with you. I can't rank CeeDee Lamb right now because there's been some inconsistent games. But I'll tell you what, I have him on my fantasy team, and he's been killing it for me the last couple of games. You know who didn't kill it for me this weekend? DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf got 6 fucking points. So who I prefer right now, it's fucking CeeDee Lamb. And I don't know how you score 29 points, but you can't find DK Metcalf on the fucking field until the end of the game on the final drive. So, give me a break on that situation here. CeeDee Lamb would have gotten a lot of catches in that situation. So just throwing it out.
Just for reference, since people wanted, again, I'm delusional. I'm looking here at last year.
Yeah.
And I see CeeDee Lamb sitting at the number 6 receiver with 1,359 yards and 9 touchdowns. And I see, what is that really tiny down there? Number 16, DK Metcalf with 1,048 yards and 6 touchdowns.
That's it? 1,000? That's it?
He had a 1,000-yard season, but, I don't know. CD out here with an additional essentially 400 yards on him and shit. Like, I don't know. Maybe I got some cowboy blindness. I don't know if that's what that is right there. It happens sometimes. It happens. Oh, what is this? Oh my goodness. CeeDee Lamb the year before that, and he's still up and coming. He was 15th number 1 receiver, and DK Metcalf. Ooh, 27th. Oh my man, that's crazy.
Listen,
break, nigga.
1,000 yards divided over 17 games is averaging 58 yards a game. That is not a top 5 wide receiver. That's not even a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. That's madness to me. So,
but I say all that to say, look, I'm teasing. DK Metcalf is a fucking beast, and I know that. And Tyler Lockett is also ridiculous. But I just anybody that is really being honest with themselves need to open their eyes and understand what CeeDee Lamb is doing, because again, he is in between Hill and Brown as far as receptions. That's 60, Hill 69, Lamb 68, Brown 67. So he's right in that range, and there are people with more. You've got the Keenan Allen, the Stephon Diggs, where it's really being force fed. And, so they're like up there as far as that goes. Hawkinson as well. But the guy is doing things that don't make sense, and to act like there was like a where's everybody else on the team showing up, but Ferguson has made himself a legitimate, consistent target that will get it done. Cooks has finally started to wake up. Even Gallup got in on it and finally did something. So like for CD to be able to do that while everybody's getting the ball, come on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the University of Michigan. Let's have a conversation about this. As we were talking about a couple weeks ago, and last week, I think as well, University of Michigan right now embroiled in controversy, a sign stealing controversy. The Big Ten handed out the punishment. They suspended Jim Harbaugh, and they played this so well. They suspended Jim Harbaugh the night before Veterans Day. The courts were closed on Veterans Day, so the University of Michigan could not win their appeal to get Harbaugh on the field against Penn State. It was some crafty shit by the Big Ten. But in the end, the University of Michigan won the game. And then Harbaugh later, when he was asked about all this in the press, he had a press conference, I think Sunday morning or Monday morning, talking about it. He said that the University of Michigan is now America's team because America loves and respects due process. And the Michigan players weren't allowed due process. And the University of Michigan was punished without due process. And he spouted some bullshit about he went to civics class, which he probably never went to. And he learned that in the government in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, you may be the America's team to reflect Donald Trump with 91 indictments and shit. You may be, who's guilty as fuck. You may be that America's team, but you're not America's team. And Paul Feinbaum, I think he was great. I love Paul Feinbaum. He called out Jim Harbaugh, and he said those comments. He said, "I found it sad and pathetic." Why? Because this isn't America's team. This isn't what America is about. And here we are, just days removed from Veterans Day, where we honor people who really represent America. And he said, this is not what it is. Trying to steal signs to gain an unfair advantage, that's not the way this country was built, and that's not what should be described as America's team. Now, as I said, I do love Paul, but Paul, American history is not really littered with America doing all the right things at all the right times.
I was going to say, like, Rocha, thank you for your service, because you served, didn't you, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, me, yes, I served 8 years.
Like,
yeah.
Thank you. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, look, obviously this is not a political show. We're not going to get into what's happening over in the Middle East right now, but I thought that John Oliver did. No, which is fine. But I thought John Oliver did a very good job breaking it down. I highly suggest, if you want to really see how this whole thing has dusted up the way that it is, I highly suggest it. But there's one in particular where people were kind of going in about, like, well, Gaza, the Palestinians, like, voted for Hamas. And he brought up the point that was back in 2006. But also, if you were trying to say that the way that somebody acts, the way their government acts, is an automatic sentence on the entirety of whatever, like, you need to go and look at years of U.S. foreign policy and try and act like we ain't do some fuck shit, because we've done some fuck shit. And I will actually give Harbaugh credit here.
Oh,
it is America's team, because that's the kind of shit we be doing, bro. Okay, we be doing some dirty shit. Tom Brady, cheating ass bitch with his deflating ass balls, and Bill Belichick with them cheating ass motherfucking cameras against the Jets. America's team. Fucking the Houston Astros out here banging on trash cans and shit, full on stealing signs and telling people when to swing. America's team. Like, bro, Tanya Hardin, nigga, I want to win this gold medal. America's queen. Like, I'm trying to tell you, that's what we fucking do. We sit here as the goddamn U.S. of A. We gonna win it any means necessary. Any means necessary.
As the father of one of the greatest NASCAR drivers ever said, Ricky Bobby's dad, he said, if you ain't first, you're last. So, you gotta put that into your mind when you think about America, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is such a weird thing, but I think there's a way you can make an argument that he might have been correct, but not in the way that he was intending. I think that's a fair point.
Obviously.
I know you're being facetious.
But like, I just, Jesus Christ, man. What this is making me sad for, I had so much respect for Harbaugh in San Francisco. I thought how that kind of split went was kind of wild.
I agree.
I feel each year he's with Michigan, I actually start to lose respect for him. And that sucks. Like, I feel that way about Drake at this point. I was out here being like, Drake is the greatest rapper alive. He's fucking crushing it. And then he'll do some shit where he's like best friends with Millie Bobby Brown and shit. And then he'll which is weird because she's a child at the time. Or he'll end up in a situation where it's like, he's making diss songs about Rihanna, who's about to have her second baby with another rapper that he's supposedly friends with. Like, my guy, stop embarrassing yourself. You're going from being on the throne. It feels like it feels like a paranoid king that knows his time is almost up, so they start making irrational fucking decisions.
Yeah,
I feel that same way with Jim Harbaugh, where every time some shit pops up, he's just like, I'm like, bro, calm down for the love of God. So.
I think Drake accidentally made himself a butt of jokes here when he played himself as the Canadian black guy on Jeopardy. And I don't know if you ever saw that sketch.
That was hilarious on Black Jeopardy.
Yes, Black Jeopardy.
That was hilarious.
That was the perfect Drake. That's the actual Drake.
That shit was hilarious.
Come on, dog. That was the actual Drake. That was great.
Guy.
Come on, guy. But I gotta ask you about this to wrap up the Michigan conversation, and before we head on out of here. I don't know how to phrase this, but Winston, I ask you as a black man, you get handed.
That's always a sentence. That is a sentence to start with. I asked you was a black man.
Now, Jim Harbaugh has asked you to. Oh, where was I? Damn it! Did I lose it? Damn it! Jim Harbaugh has asked you to take over. That's Sharon Moore there, who is stepping in for Jim Harbaugh during the game. He asked you to step in, and then they ask you about what the process was like coaching the team and Harbaugh trusting you. And
what does it mean to you?
What is the crying about?
Lord, that Coach Harbaugh, fucking love you, man. Love the shit out of you, man. This is for you. For this university, the president, our AD, we got the best players, best university, best alumni in the country. Love you guys. These fucking guys right here. These guys right here, man. These guys did it. These guys did it, man. Talk to him, man. Love you.
Winston, I need you to explain to me why this man is this emotional over a college football game in the middle of the season. Second, his coach and his program are possibly stealing signs. It looks very clear. They fired the dude who was accused of possibly stealing signs and helping them organize this whole thing. And he's going to come out here and cry for this white man. So I need you to tell me what the situation's going on here, man.
Here's the thing, man. I've never hid the fact that, like, you know, I'm an emotional dude. I wear my heart on my sleeve, man.
Sure.
You ask Kristen, the best time to get anything at me is catch me at a wedding. I get in my motherfucking feels. Like I'm that dude, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was bitch made. He acts, he like in the sense that, like, he's acting like Harbaugh died.
Yeah,
he's acting like this man has, like, gone to jail. This team came from some sort of crazy adversity. Like, it doesn't make sense. Now, if this was like his first time ever, like if this had been like you remember the Whoopi Goldberg Eddie?
Yes,
Yvonne McBasket, all that. If this had been like he had been pulled out of the crowd, or it's his first time ever coaching or something like that, that would make sense.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. It doesn't. This is not something to cry about. I also know that there's a big rivalry between Penn State and Michigan. There are bigger rivalries, like, because Ohio State is a bigger one, right? You know, and even the Michigan State thing, that's a whole thing too. But I know that this is a big deal. That did not make sense. That's why when that player walked up and he's like, "Hey, coach," and then, like, he kind of put him under his arm and he's like, "This nigga crying? What?" Like, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense.
We got 4 more games, coach. You all right? You gotta hold it.
Bro, you win the title. That's a reason to cry.
Yes.
You get knocked out of the title contention or lose the title. That's 100%. A reason to cry.
100%.
Someone died. That's a reason to cry. You win coach of the year. You had some false allegations against you when you beat him. Your child is born. You stubbed your fucking toe. Yeah. Those are all reasons to cry. This was not one of them.
Right.
I'll even give Caleb fucking Williams. I know people were giving him some grief for him running to go essentially Lambeau leap to his mom and to cry. But I'll even give him that is totally normal to me, because he's a kid. What you were trying to do that season is not going to be a possibility anymore. Right. There's a lot of pressure that's been on this kid to do that. And to be honest with you, I kind of have a little more respect in that regard, because that means he's really caring and he's about it. I'm not saying that this coach doesn't care. He clearly cares.
Yeah.
But it just feels phony.
There's a line in Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield, after Sam Kinison has yelled at everybody in the class, he goes, "I like him. He's a good teacher. Really seems to care." About what? I have no idea. And this is absolutely what you're seeing with Sharon Moore. That was way too much overall for, I don't know. Like you said, Harbaugh didn't die. He hasn't been fired. He's just suspended. And there's a lot of allegations of sign stealing. So you're crying, in essence, to defend a corrupt program, which makes the tears even more inauthentic. So it
would be like when the Astros officially got caught and they won their first game back the next season. Hey, yo, We did this for the dude that was banging on the trash cans. If we didn't have him, we wouldn't have known how to win that World Series. And now we got to try to pretend like we didn't do that shit. I want to thank the guy that he had a directional mic and he took the trash can signals and pointed it straight into my ear. So I understood what the fuck was going on. Like, come on, bro. That's my team. That's my quarterback. Jesus.
Absolutely. All right, well, there you go. That should wrap up the show. I think at this point, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. You guys are the best. We appreciate it. Always love the lively chat. Thanks for the Streamlabs, y'all. We appreciate it. Winston, another fun show, man. Where can they find you? Anything got going on, brother, man?
You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred, and that includes here on YouTube. Please, if you haven't already, go over to my channel and subscribe, man. Now that the strike is over, I am back to posting the content, my reviews and stuff like that, like analysts analysis and discussion on films, because I you know, obviously everybody has their different reviews they do, and I kind of give that, but I really kind of attack it from an angle of like an actor and kind of like stuff that I'm seeing. So if that's something you're like more interested in, kind of, you know, taking that dive with me, please come and do that. And I also do CPT reviews. There's a lot of movies that my black ass ain't seen, which is embarrassing. So I do these reviews from films that I should have been seen, and my takes on like classics. Like I went through, I got to do one more of The Strike Hit. I got to do one more Indiana Jones. Nice. But like I was going through all those types of films. So if you want to come and see my takes on stuff like The Princess Diaries, Indiana Jones, Rocky, like all sorts of stuff, man, you got to come and check it out.
There you go. Those are perfect. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Go follow him everywhere the Swaggy Blurred is. He's a great follow for sure. As for me, at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, the Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Make sure you hit a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the video. Leave us your comments down below as well. And my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says, where I will drop my out of theater reaction, because I couldn't drop anything until 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. PT in 35 minutes for Napoleon. Later on tonight, I'll have my reaction to Maestro. I'm going to go see that one as well. So go and watch all the stuff we got going on. We just did the live review, spoiler review of the Marvels with the Geek Buddies. That is up on the channel. And don't forget the hot mic happening in a couple of days as well. All right, you guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with a brand new episode of Game Time. Peace.